What is going on, guys? Welcome back into another video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at one of the best builds inside of Destiny 2 right now. Now, this is a build that has been around over the last few seasons. During Season of the Haunted, when Solar 3.0 dropped, this thing was absolutely cracked, but it's definitely taken a hit given the fact that you weren't able to basically cure yourself or heal or have restoration over the past couple seasons. And now that Bungie has added some new fragments, it is back and it is absolutely amazing. Now, really the goal of this build, guys, is to take advantage of StarFire protocol with its extra fusion grenade slot. Grenade kills with this setup is going to be able to cure us. We're also going to lean heavily into creating scorches, ignitions, and eruptions to create fire sprites and be able to get some of that grenade energy back as fast as possible, while also leaning into getting armor charges from them as well. Now, before we get going, just a quick reminder, guys, if you're enjoying the content on the channel, feel free to hit that thumbs up and sub to the channel. It definitely helps me out, and I really appreciate all of the support. Now, to start things off, we're going to be using Well of Radiance for our super, and this is going to pair up really nicely with StarFire protocol because of the benefit with empowered weapon damage. That's going to continuously get our grenade back, and that's a huge benefit in DPS situations. And we're also going to be stacking that with an Empowering Rift and Burst Glide as well. Now, moving over to our melee, we're going to be using Celestial Fire, which sends out a spiral of 3 explosive solar energy blasts, scorching targets with each hit. And for our grenade, this is going to be the bread and butter of the entire build. We're using Fusion Grenades, which is an explosive grenade that attaches to targets, damaging and moderately scorching them on detonation. Now, moving over to our aspects, I'm going to be using Icarus Dash, which allows you to dodge quickly while you're airborne. Now, this one is super subjective, so if you prefer to run Heat Rises over Icarus Dash, it's completely up to you. I prefer the advantage in movement around the map that Icarus provides. And the second one we're rolling is going to be Touch of Flame, which is going to allow our fusion grenades to explode twice. Now, moving over to our fragments, you have a ton of options here that you can really play around with. The ones that I've set for myself, I kind of prefer because I'm really trying to do Scorch and set ignitions as much as possible, and I want to be able to take advantage of those fire sprites. Now, with that being said, the first one we're rolling with is going to be Ember of Char. This is going to allow our solar ignitions to spread Scorch to affected targets. This also gives us a +10 bump in Discipline. Now, the next one is going to be Ember of Resolve. Solar Grenade Final Blows Cure You. Now, this is one of the newest fragments in the game that dropped with the LightFall DLC. And honestly, this is what this build has been missing since Season of the Haunted. And next up, we're going to be using Ember of Searing. Now, defeating scorched targets grants melee energy and creates a fire sprite. This also gives us a +10 bump to recovery. Now, this is a big one to use for this setup as well because we're taking advantage of those fire sprites. And basically what those are going to do is they're going to allow us to get our grenades back faster, and they're going to charge our armor up as well with some of the armor mods that we'll talk about here shortly. And the last fragment we're using is going to be Ember of Ashes, which is going to allow us to apply more scorch stacks to targets. Now, moving over to the armor side of the build, we really tried to focus more on resilience, recovery, and discipline to be able to get those grenades back and to make our character as tanky as possible. We also tried to focus on mods that produce orbs of power, which will then help your weapon damage, and some mods that also will help with your super recharge rate. Now, to start things off on my helmet, I am rolling triple Ashes to Assets, which allows us to gain bonus super energy on grenade kills. Now, these mods do stack, and this allows us to get our super back insanely quick, being that we're going to be using those fusion grenades so often. Now, moving over to our gauntlets, the first one I'm rolling with is going to be Firepower, which allows us to generate orbs of power with grenade final blows. So now by using this allows us to have 2 different avenues to charge our armor up. One with the fire sprites and the second one with orbs of power. And I'm also rolling with double momentum transfer. Now, these mods do stack as well. Causing damage with a grenade reduces your melee cooldown. Now, this is super important to have on here as well, because every time we throw a grenade down with a melee right behind it, that's going to cause an eruption. Now, moving over to our chest piece and our exotic of choice for this build, which is the StarFire protocol. Now, Fusion Harness, fusion grenades have an additional charge and recharge from empowered weapon damage. Fusion grenade kills grant rift energy. Now, I also added a double charged up mod here as well, which increases the maximum number of stacks of armor charge you can carry by 1. Now, if you need some resistance, you can certainly take the second one off. So if you want to throw a Void, a Solar, an Arc, whichever one you need for whatever activity you're going into, you can certainly do that here. Now moving over to our legs, I am rolling double solar weapon surge, which collecting an orb of power causes you to gain 1 temporary armor charge. Your solar weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have any armor charge. Your armor charge now decays over time. Now these mods are basically Fontamite 2.0, guys. You can basically throw on whichever ones you want based on the weapons that you're using. Myself, I've been using a lot of Callus Mini Tool, so having solar weapon surge on makes sense. And on my bond, I'm going to be rolling with time dilation, which is your decaying armor charge has a longer duration. And I'm pairing that up with a double outreach mod, which reduces melee cooldown when using your class ability. And with this setup, we're going to be using that class ability a ton. Now, one quick recommendation for using this build, guys, is to use weapons that do damage over time. Now, weapons like Witherhoard and Anarchy are going to be perfect for this setup because of the benefits from StarFire protocol with doing empowered weapon damage to get that grenade back even faster. And if we hit an enemy with like a Witherhoard, you're doing damage over time while you're standing in that rift, which is constantly reprocking your grenade. Now, after using this over the last few days, guys, this build is absolutely cracked. I would say it's probably the best build in Destiny right now. I know that Bonk Titan is still really good as well, but this one is right there. Warlock definitely needed to get a way to heal back while using those fusion nades in StarFire protocol, and I'm really happy that Bungie acknowledged that and brought a fragment back into the game that allows us to do that. Now, if you guys have any questions, comments, or suggestions for this build, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I know that we can mix and match a lot of different fragments in this setup, so I'm kind of curious to see what you guys are using in your own builds. And guys, thanks again for stopping in and checking out the video. I really hope this build helps you guys out and you enjoy it as much as I have over the last few days. I'm sure this is something that we'll give a shot in raids and some of the GMs coming up later in the season. Thanks again, guys, and I will plan on seeing you all in the next video.